continue. We're chilling, a new week, new me. And we're checking the abilities that were deleted from League of Legends, part 4 from Vars. I'm pretty sure we missed part 2, but hey, it is what it is. Let's see.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Removed Abilities, where I go back in time to look at champion abilities that were either straight up taken out of the game and replaced by something else, or abilities that were changed around to be functionally different by...
Okay, looking at the thumbnail chat, do we know these abilities? I want to see that's something Aurelius, reminds me of Aurelius Blade, is something Galio's passive, is that, I want to say that is the cringe Rengar's diving ability, that is reworked Q.
then compared to now.
Also, Cutthroat from Talon was straight up amazing ability, which was teleport behind enemy player, champion, and silencing them. This one, I'm not sure.
Gonna dive straight into this one with another so let's get into it. This had to be one of my favorite ultimates of all time, and I was really sad to see it gone, but at the same time I can understand why they took it away because it was extremely broken, like super ultimate territory. Everyone knows Rek'Sai is a diver assassin hybrid who specializes in going after one person, knocking them up, blasting them with their combo, and then using Void Rush to finish them off.
Yeah, but have we recently seen Rek'Sai in the game? Because I haven't seen her in a while, just saying.
The old Rek'Sai though was more of a tank juggernaut who excelled in map control, tempo, and disrupting enemy teams. The main way she did that was through her old Void Rush. Present day Void Rush is a targeted finisher that logs onto an enemy she recently damaged.
Oh yeah, her old ultimate, yeah, straight up. Twisted Fate's ultimate, but slightly better because you would send a rocket across the map, and you are that rocket.
Disappearing for 1.5 seconds before pulling a Five Nights at Freddy's jump scare at a target for massive damage based on their missing health. All things considered, it was a very good ability, albeit kind of a derpy looking one for what is essentially a land shark. Rek'Sai's old Void Rush, however, was entirely different. After channeling for 1.5 seconds along with a blood-curdling scream, she dashed at lightning speed to one of her tunnels from global range.
But I mean, the idea is quite the same everywhere now. We've got Vex, we've got Nocturne, we've got Briar, we had old Rek'Sai. Is there any other champions that literally have the same ability?
She also had a small amount of attack speed. Now, comparing the two ultimates, you might think to yourself the current Void Rush is way more threatening since it's a combat ultimate, but let's contextualize things.
Rengar? No, not Rengar.
A bit. One of the biggest dilemmas junglers face, more than even their laners, is deciding when to recall. In fact, junglers prefer to recall as little as possible because they want to exert as much pressure on the map as they can. Not only that, but the hallmark of a good jungler is how quickly and efficiently they can navigate around the map to get to where they need to be. Rek'Sai is one of the best junglers at traversing the map thanks.
Bro, I'm crying right now. I haven't seen, Civ is the reason I started playing this game in Season 3. And that is the glorious Stormtrooper Rek'Sai video, where he would play ability power Rek'Sai, he would go underground, and when he is shooting the thingy, it would one-shot people. That was disgusting.
Thanks to a network of tunnels, provided they remain undestroyed, she can get from one side of the map to the other in about half the time it takes most other junglers to. Not to mention, these tunnels can serve as both engage and escape tools, so imagine giving a jungler access to a global teleport that she can use to get to wherever the hell she wants to be. That's insane. Rek'Sai can dig a tunnel, recall, use her ultimate, then go right back to where she just recalled. What makes Lauren such a dangerous lane opponent is that he can power spike without having to recall just by chilling for 4 seconds out of combat. Rek'Sai basically could do the same, albeit with a longer cooldown, but Void Rush was easily like top 3 best global ultimates. As devastating as the current Void Rush is, the old one was a godsend for tempo. Next ability, and this is another one of those ultimates that I really miss. Galio's Idol of Durant. The easiest way I can describe it...
Oh, that's an ultimate, yeah, the global taunt. Yeah, that was not global taunt, but in that range, that was fun.
Is that it's an infinitely better version of Nunu's Sub-Zero. Galio channels for up to 2 seconds, during which he gains 50% damage reduction, and all enemies within a 600 unit radius are taunted.
Yeah, straight up, that's Nunu's ultimate, but imagine, instead of just slowing enemies, you're taunting them and they're attacking you. Oh, bro, that'd be so fun.
After which he explodes and deals magic damage to all enemies caught, increased by the number of basic attacks he took during that time up to a cap of 8 for 80%. This right here is also in the realm of Super Ultimate. Nunu's ultimate is incredibly busted, but also incredibly unreliable in terms of damage, since you can just dash out of it or interrupt him. Now you can interrupt Galio, but it's a lot harder, since only people outside...
Oh my god, yeah, I keep forgetting that whenever I'm holding the mouse, the thing is going double speed, kinda cringe.
Crowd control. Now you can interrupt Galio, but it's a lot harder, since only people outside his radius can CC him. Everyone else inside it are taunted, so unless you do something like press W on Renekton or Q on Garen before he ults you, you have no way of stopping the channel, so it's a massive AoE 2-second taunt that also does big damage, and with a radius of 600, that's just enough to trap the majority of AD carries.
Also, speaking of the combinations like that, what you would do is you would have old AP Galio in the middle, he would ult 5 people, everyone is attacking Galio, Galio is dealing already bazillion of damage, and then what you need to do is just have AD Fiora from topside with her old ultimate as well. Blade Walls. Basically, Yeah, Master E is Q-bot on steroids. Simple as that.
Unfortunately, or rather I should say fortunately, Galio was reworked before Silas came out because oh my lord, if Silas had this ultimate, everyone would pee their pants. Idol of Duran was one of those abilities that was only balanced by the fact that it was on Galio, who didn't really have an easy way to get in, as all he could do was walk up to you with Righteous Gust. But even on Galio, it was a very effective anti-engage tool, instant cast time, so the moment the enemy team engaged on you, press R and your team would get a couple seconds to gather their bearings and launch a counteroffensive. In terms of design though, this would easily take a spot on a badly designed abilities video. Unless you had QSS or Cleanse, if you got caught in his ultimate you were pretty much f***ed. Like it or not, you were about to take over 1,000 damage late game just by being in range of him.
And that was the beauty of old Galio, just saying.
Comparatively, the current Galio taunt, the one attached to his W, is a lot more balanced and fair. I'm all for explosive ultimates, but there has to be an element of counterplay. As fast as it looks, you can easily react and flash out a Malphite ultimate, but with Galio, it's an instant.
React to Malphite's ultimate, sure, but based on the fact that majority of the player base are sitting gold and below, it's not about reaction time. It's just not.
Taunt, so if you're anywhere near him, you have to face the very big possibility that you're gonna explode. It wasn't the most fairly designed ultimate, but I do miss it. One of my favorite videos from MyMaCutiePie was where he went full AP Galio and the enemy Ezreal or whoever the AD carry was just couldn't play the game. This is the hill I'm gonna die on. 2016 Cutie was peak League of Legends. Next ability is Irelia's old E, Equilibrium Strike. I touched.
No, not sure. 2016 means Season 6 was already, League was going downhill. Season 3, Season 4 was the peak.
On this in my old Champions video, but this ability was also one of those questionably designed ones. See, the premise with her E was that she dealt magic damage to a target and slowed them for 1 to 2 seconds. If her percentile health was equal or less than that target, they would get stunned instead. Not actual health, percentile health. Let's say she had 10,000 HP versus an enemy Caitlyn with 2,000. Obviously there's no universe where she has 10 grand in health, but bear with me. If she was at 9,000 health, she would have 90% of her total health, which for Caitlyn would be 1,800, but since they had the same percentile, she would stun Caitlyn despite still having 7,000 more HP than her. I think the idea they were trying to go with for Irelia was that Equilibrium Strike was
if you didn't understand that, it's completely normal.
Supposed to be stronger when she was at a disadvantage. That was the notion they had with her given her story back then where I believe she fought like 1,000 dudes by herself. For example, Ionian Fervor made her stronger when outnumbered by giving her a metric ton of tenacity. So they were trying to do the same with Equilibrium Strike, but in practice, it was one of the easiest point and click 2-second stuns in the game. You people think Renekton and Power W is dumb, this move was absolute bullshit, since it basically let her play as an assassin. Like I said, she could be 4K.
Pay attention at level 2 Lulu ganking Baker of all the people. Baker, yeah, I mean...
Move was absolute.
What are you doing? Just one quick, what are you doing?
Bullshit, since it basically let her play as an assassin. Like I said, she could be 4k HP versus a 1,500 HP squishy enemy backline, but so long as her percentile health was lower than theirs, she could stun them and then burst them down with the QW and ultimate. This also made it so when fighting her, you had to burst her down as fast as you could, since if you were at half HP and she was at half HP, if she got that stun on you, you were basically dead.
Yep.
Questionable ability design to say the least. Not the most egregious thing in the game.
I mean, look at 2023, the questionable abilities that we have right now. Literally every single last champion, just saying.
But I swear, there were so many times where I got stunned even though it looked like her HP bar was fuller than mine. She was the bane of all squishy backline champions to say the least. Well, she still is, I guess. Speaking of terribly designed abilities, I think we can all unanimously agree that Kha'Zix's Void Assault had to be one of the worst ideas Riot ever envisioned in the history of this game. During the Assassin update in Preseason 7, they wanted to add more outplay potential and nuance to the class, and their definition of outplay potential for Kha'Zix was by taking away the enemy team's outplay potential. In version 6.22, when you evolved his Void Assault, he would gain Adaptive Cloaking, where upon entering a brush, he would go invisible for 2.5 seconds, lingering for 1.5 seconds.
Oh yeah, that was the passive. Yeah, now I remember, yeah, it was bullshit.
Seconds after exiting, and with a 10-second per brush cooldown. It's important to note that this was invisibility, not stealth, meaning he couldn't be detected by control wards. If you guys thought Evelyn's perma-camouflage was obnoxious, imagine Kha'Zix, a high-speed, instant burst assassin with perma-invisibility. Mobi Boots and Ghost Blade plus Void Assault's movement speed itself, the guy could run from brush to brush without you being able to see him, and there were so many brushes around the map, he would be invisible for up to like a minute.
I see absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's what assassins are supposed to do. That's the real story of a fucking predator.
Forget, he still had 2 active uses of Void Assault on deck. This was a passive. I actually distinctly remember when this change happened, Kha'Zix's pick rate went from like 10 to 15% to 25% and he had a 57% win rate. It was crazy how broken this upgrade was. Junglers are literally made or broken by how fast they can navigate around the map and more importantly, not be spotted while doing it. With Kha'Zix, it didn't matter how many pink wards were around the map, you could just run around and show up anywhere with no detection. I never want to see this again, ever. Stealth is, and as always,
Honestly, I'd actually pay real money to play in the game mode where we have all of the most broken abilities, all of the most broken items and champions in that match, in that lobby. So we would have DFG, we would have this Kha'Zix, we would have a permanently invisible Sunfire Eva. You get the idea. AP Mastery. Bro, that would be beautiful.
been a really degenerate mechanic in my opinion. Being invisibility was only adding insult to injury. Even if they made active cloaking a camouflage to where nearby units can still see him, Kha'Zix is a very fast champion mobility-wise. Evelynn is balanced by her lack of mobility. She has to slowly walk around the map, whereas Kha'Zix had like perma 600 movement speed, so he was basically Shadow Assassin King before Shadow Assassin King. You know, now that we're halfway into this is starting to sound like a badly designed abilities episode. You know what, if we're talking about Kha'Zix, we might as well bring up his arch rival.
There we go. Please tell me we're talking about his Q, and please show me the fucking broken animation.
Rengar. Unpopular opinion, I kind of liked the swim Q.
Yeah, you got that right. Very unpopular opinion. His Q was dog shit.
But it was obvious why it didn't work. During the same time Kha'Zix got its active cloaking, Rengar's Savagery was changed from a basic attack to a double slash ability, no longer applying on-hit effects, but in exchange gaining the ability to deal AoE damage, and I believe it had comparable output to Savagery, but on multiple targets. Conceptually, this wasn't a badly designed ability if we isolate it in a vacuum, but it was bad specifically on its kit. By itself, it had rather generous area coverage and allowed him to place less emphasis on assassinating one person and not only fight more comfortably in 5v5s, but it was also buffed to his clear speed. Not to mention the 4-second flat cooldown would go down to like 2.4 at 40% CDR, giving him really solid DPS, and with numbers like that was a very high damage ceiling. So, what was the issue here?
The fact that you're not one-shotting a target. I would rather have that DPS in a single target than AoE, just saying.
Was that it made Rengar feel kind of clunky. If memory serves, and again, it was like a long time ago, so I might be forgetting it, Rengar's Q had a fixed cast time, which meant that no matter how fast you got in terms of movement speed and attack speed, his Q would be exactly the same.
Yep.
Rengar was the poster child of instant one-shotting. If you watched any Rengar montage back in the day, people could do literally 3 Qs in half a second. The moment
Riot, can we bring it back? But I'm not asking for more, just bring it back, you know? Like, these were the fun days.
you saw him jump at you, it was a frame 1 gray screen. So to go from a super speedy one-shot assassin to this Q is a very awkward change to swallow for most Rengar players. What's funny though is that he had an even bigger spike in win rate than Kha'Zix. I believe his win rate went to like 60% and he had a 75% ban rate, arguably a contender for one of the most broken champions in the game, especially since his W used to be a short-lasting Olaf ultimate. Like along with the cleanse, he would be immune to crowd control for a second or two after. They really didn't give a damn about balance back in the day. I don't know, I like this Rengar because I'm more of a fan of Bruiser Rengar than full armor penetration one-shot, so when I played it, I went Black Cleaver full tank. It was a lot of fun. One more theory.
Well, yeah, when you're going a bruiser, when you're going tanky, sure, this might work, but that's not Rengar. Rengar is literally assassin. You see enemy spawns, enemy dies. That was the idea of Rengar. With bruiser, sure, but you can play bruiser, but you're not one-shotting them, you know?
The theory I have of Rengar's Q being reverted is that around the same time, 2 other champions got a similar type of 2-hit combo with a wide slash followed by a forward thrust, Xin Zhao and Sejuani's W. So maybe they thought there were too many attacks like this, especially on junglers, and wanted to switch things up. Rengar definitely struggled to clear due to being most a single target, but I think the changes they made to Battle Roar alleviated that for him, so they brought back his old Q. 2 more.
And he is not showing the broken animation when Rengar would be stuck in his fucking diving animation. And you would keep playing the game, the rest of the game, in that stuck animation. Doesn't matter what you do. If you're ulting, if you're using W, if you're using E, doesn't matter. You're stuck in that single animation. Nothing changes. That was fun.
Abilities to go, let's talk about a really old one, Sion's Cryptic Gaze. Very simple, but one of those, if this was on a champion in the current day, it would be nerfed to Kingdom Come type abilities. Cryptic Gaze
Is that the point and click stun?
was a point and click 550 range,
Yeah.
1.5 second stun with 300 base damage and a 90% AP ratio. That was it. With 40% CDR, 8 seconds went down to 4.8, so every 5 seconds you had a ranged point and click stun, and this was a ranged projectile, meaning you could use this in neutral as opposed to Pantheon or Briar's point and click stuns where you're forced to fight. Most Sion players went AD to abuse the sheer lifesteal and AD on his E and ultimate, but on occasion you would sometimes see people go full AP Sion and just Q spam on you over and over again. Usually with neutral poke tools like Mordekai's Q, Pantheon Q, Aatrox Q and such, you're close enough to where if your lane opponent wants to strike you back, they can, so you're taking a risk, but with Sion's Q, nope. Even if the Jax or whoever wanted to jump in on you, that 1.5 second stun was enough time for you to just walk away. Actually, while we're on that, I suppose I can talk about Sion's W. It was a 10-second shield on an 8-second cooldown. Although don't be confused, the cooldown doesn't begin until after the shield expires,
Yep.
so you couldn't have a permanent shield up. It also had 300 base damage and a 90% AP ratio, so you just press W, walk up, and Q them. If they were stupid enough to jump at you, not only would they be stunned on arrival, but you could explode the shield and do 600 base plus 180% AP in 2 hits. That was defensively. You could also just walk up to them, Q to stun, then walk up and explode W before walking away. But
honestly, just by looking at his gameplay, I do miss old Scion. That was a fun Scion.
by the way, it used to be a 2-second stun and
So it was the less broken version of Morgana Q. What do you mean less broken? Morgana's Q is cooldown is like what, 12 seconds give or take now. Plus you have to hit that. Granted, Morgana's skill shot hitbox is a bit sussy sometimes, so you will hit it most of the time, but still you have to try to hit it. With Scion, just bro, press E. That's it.
100% AP ratios on both Q and W respectively, and though this was back in I think beta, Cryptic Ace's max stun time used to be 2.2 seconds on a point and click ranged ability. Scion is definitely one of the champions of all time, and I'm glad they reworked him because that right there would be awful to fight in this day and age. Okay, last ability of this video will be Talon's old E, Cutthroat, a 700 range.
Yeah, that's the one. That back in the day Talon was fun and straight up cancer in the mid lane, because he would have a silence and jump behind you.
Point and click dash that slowed his target for 0.25 seconds and caused him to deal increased damage to them for the next 3 seconds. The 0.25 second slow was meant to be for Talon's old passive Mercy, which made him deal 10% bonus damage to enemies that were slowed, stunned, rooted, or suppressed, giving him just enough time to land one basic attack, which in tandem with his old Noxian Diplomacy would do a crap ton of damage. Just looking at Cutthroat, it seems kind of underwhelming, doesn't it? 18 second cooldown at rank 1 that only goes down to 10. And though it is a point and click blink, slowing them for only a quarter of a second and increasing damage by 15% seems like old Prowler's Claw on an ability. That might actually be what Prowler's Claw was inspired off of, but would you believe me if I said this ability was one of the most despised moves in the game? How so?
Silence.
Cutthroat used to silence for a second, not slow. A 1 second silence may not sound as threatening as a 1 second root, but there's a reason silences aren't very common in League.
Yeah, because there was no counterplay to that. I'm still salty about the fact that they removed most of the silences, but Cho'Gath's scream, I feel like it is dub. I'm pretty sure it's his dub. The feral scream that still has a silence. Garen's Hue still has a silence. Soraka's fucking fountain still has a silence. Like, what do you mean if we are removing silences, let's remove the silences, you know?
While rooted, you can still use items and summoner spells. Even while stunned, you can use summoners. But if silenced, you can't use items, summoners, or abilities. And you know, being an assassin, 1 second is all he needs to 100 to 0 you.
True.
The guy's literally designed to kill you instantly, so you have a point and click
That is the old free map. I'm crying right now.
700 range blink, not even dash, so Poppy and Talia can't do anything about that. Silence. Old Talon was a stat tracker in every sense of the word, since you literally couldn't do anything but take that damage. Straightforward EQW ultimate and boom, dead. It was similar to Galio, where if you were simply in range of him and his abilities were off cooldown, you would explode just like that. I know everyone hates Talon for being able to run around all over the place and parkour over walls, but trust me when I say the old version would have been way worse to fight. And I wasn't even around when Izzy used to silence, I just know how dangerous a 1 second silence is on an assassin. You can't even use Zhonya's or Exhaust, you're just dead. Okay, episode 4 of Removed Abilities complete. As always, if you have any specific abilities you'd like me to go over, you're more than welcome to leave them in the comments. We still have plenty to talk about, so look forward to an episode 5, 6, 7, 8, 1000, and so on. For now,
1000 episodes. I mean, eventually, given the fact that League of Legends is always changing abilities, I feel like we'll reach 1000 episodes. But the question is, will we live for that long? Probably not. Why? Because we're playing League of Legends. You know it, I know it, everyone knows it.
Though, if you enjoyed the video, it would be awesome if you left a like and subscribed. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Vars, join my Discord server, and check out my previous episodes if you haven't yet. But till next,
we missed the second episode. Yeah, we watched the first one, we watched the third one, and now we're watching number 4. Bro, we need to watch the second one.
Next time, thanks so
for a fact, bro, if I'm not mistaken, this is the old Mordekaiser Ultimate. It has to be. Bro, we need to watch that.
much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.
Next time. Yeah, the fact is, we still haven't seen old Akali's Shroud. That's what I want to see. Anyway, that's the video.